Next up is Gleeson. He's a beef farmer from Limerick. He's also current chair of the Limerick IFA. And that's probably what stopped him entering the FPD Young Farmer competition in 2015 or so. So John, or Aidan, sorry, is talking about the beef farmer processor relationship, what needs to be changed.
Just let me get something here. Thank you, Joe, for that. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Aidan Gleeson, and as Joe said, I'm a beef farmer from Limerick. And the title of my topic is the beef farmer processor relationship, what needs to change. During my Nuffield travels, I visited France, Australia, Singapore, Hong Kong, China, the Philippines, Canada, the United States, the United Kingdom, and Brussels. And I would just like to thank Nuffield Ireland and the sponsors of Nuffield for making this opportunity possible for me, and for all the people who helped me during my studies, including Seamus Quigley, who was my mentor. The rationale behind my study topic came from my involvement in IFA. In 2014, we found ourselves protesting outside beef factories around the country. And the issues and concerns that were being raised by farmers then were largely unchanged from the issues that I found in 2000 when I was involved in the protest back in Mocknaferma. So, you know, in order to avoid returning again and again to the same issues, we must move forward and find a way to work together. And if we do not, we condemn the next generation of beef farmers to face those issues for years to come. The Irish beef industry is the 5th largest exporter of beef in the world. Over €2 billion worth of value, which is 34% of the gross agricultural output. So you can see it's a very important industry to the Irish economy. The economic principle of the prisoner's dilemma, as described by Professor Hanna of Rochester Institute of Technology, describes where two parties in an enterprise cooperate, the result is favourable to both. But where both parties defect, they neither gains from the effort. So although each may feel that they can beat the system, in fact, both are better off working together for the optimum results. So what is our dilemma? The Irish farmer and processor relationship is problematic, to say the least. Both believe that they can manage independently of one another, but in reality, they must work together in order to optimise the result and the profitability for the industry at large. The objectives of my report are to foster better relationships between all stakeholders, to encourage innovation and adapt to changing conditions, and to provide the leadership for that change. To foster better relationships, we must identify common goals and work towards them together. And we must understand how industries elsewhere function. To encourage innovation and adapt to change, we must equip producers to be more productive, more efficient and sustainable, and show them that by improving standards, their long-term viability also improves. Not only do farmers themselves benefit from this, but processors will benefit from a more consistent product. Consumers will benefit from access to higher quality beef, and the community benefits because of the benefits to the economy. We also have to understand how industries in other countries work to maximise our own efficiencies. To provide leadership for change, we must understand the international perception of the industry. We must show that Irish farmers and processors are leaders in low carbon, highly environmentally efficient, and high welfare standards. And we must put conditions in place to deliver objectives 1 and 2. In China, the government is trying to stimulate economic activity. Farming is seen as a poor occupation with poor standards, and people are moving out of the country to work in industry. Grand Farms is a company that I visited, and they're producing beef, processing it, adding value to it to a high standard. And they are bucking the trend of the anti-Chinese production consumer there by adding value and quality and garnering a premium price from the marketplace. The USA, a very big player in the industry, exporting to places like Japan, Mexico, Canada, South Korea, Hong Kong, and the Middle East. But we find that people in prominent leadership positions do not put much importance on differentiating their product in the marketplace. In Ireland, we are much more advanced in our recognition of the importance of high standards. Canada, one of the largest exporters of beef in the world, exporting 40% of its production. I visited Bustard Ranch in Alberta. This is a large spread in the mountains. They have a lot of challenges, including a very short grazing season. But they recognise the importance of their place in the larger community. They're involved with volunteers working on conservation projects on the ranch. Sunterra is another example of a Canadian company. They're producing beef, processing it, exporting it to high-end markets like Japan. They've also diversified, recently set up a chain of stores in affluent areas of Calgary, where they are accessing the market directly and garnering a maximum profit from the market. This is a diagram of the Irish beef industry structure. It is complicated and conflicting. The different layers of organisation lead to a system that is difficult to manage. All the layers have vital roles to play, but the lack of transparency and strategic organisation means that there is a low level of confidence. In comparison to this, Australia has over 27 million head of cattle. Their industry involves over 58% of farms, and it employs over 200,000 people. They are governed by a Meat Industry Structure Act, which sets out a template of how stakeholders can work together. Each party has signed up to a memorandum of understanding, which defines agreed roles and responsibilities for funding, planning, and service arrangements. This in turn feeds into an industry strategic plan. Each stakeholder has a part to play in the formation of this plan, and so understands the end goals. The Red Meat Advisory Council is made up of representatives from each of the bodies: Cattle Council, the Sheep Council, block feeders, meat industry, Australian meat exporters, meat processors, meat processing corporation, and the meat and livestock exporters. This advisory council provides leadership on cross-sectoral issues and consults with the Minister for Agriculture on whole of industry issues. And as you can see, it is a much more streamlined model. In the UK, I travelled to Stoneleigh Park, where I met with the National Farmers Union. They are struggling with issues such as uneven implementation of specifications in the industry and evening out of supply across the year. I spoke to Tom Dracup, and he believed that both the UK and Ireland would benefit by increasing cooperation to develop market strategies. However, of course, Brexit is a major stumbling block to this, and it seems that any mention of it seems to lead to a weakening of the sterling, which, of course, makes us less and less competitive in that marketplace. Now, back to my objectives. In order to foster better relationships, we must implement an industry memorandum of understanding. We must equip producers to be more efficient and provide producers with the information they need to make informed decisions. Farmers will respond positively. All stakeholders must be consulted in decision making. Progress can be made once a body is established to address the differences, and we must have independent adjudication of disputes. My recommendations are that we must implement a memorandum of understanding which defines the roles and responsibilities of the stakeholders. We must give each holder a part in the formation of an industry strategic plan. And we must introduce legislation to give the current beef forum the ability to drive the industry forward. To innovate and adapt to changing conditions, we must ensure optimum conditions exist to return maximum profitability to stakeholders. We must also play up to our ability to produce green, sustainable beef. We must make it financially worthwhile for farmers to innovate and allow them to be part of the decision-making process. This will lead to better uptake of improvements in the industry. My recommendations are that we incentivise farmers by returning a real benefit for better production. We must support Board B's efforts to promote Irish beef globally. And we must promote the positive story of Irish beef and by using the farmers themselves as ambassadors. To provide leadership in the industry and leadership for change, we must take the hard decisions. We have to take the initiative. The government could come in and bring regulation and dictate policy, but we must take control of our own industry. And we must have strong farmer organisations to represent farmers' interests. We must define the leadership roles in the industry, so each participant knows their responsibilities. And we must use our natural advantage to lead the global industry. And we cannot let our lead dwindle by lack of action. My recommendations are that the government explore the Australian model as something that we could build on and adapt for the Irish industry. Also, that IFA lobby for the introduction of a structure such as this. That Board B develop a pilot scheme where both the processors and the producers cooperate in all parts of the production chain to show that this is a workable model. We must ensure that choggists and early adapters encourage other farmers to develop and improve. And farmers must engage with all other interested parties in the industry in order to ensure that we drive improvement. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, the question posed in the title of my topic, the beef farmer processor relationship, what needs to change? And I think this is best summarised by Colm Dore from ABP in Rathkeale, when he said that all the people in the industry care passionately about it. We need to rise above our differences and focus on our common goals. Thank you.